AI servo, in-body stabilization, native denoising, or even 40 frames per second raw files. If you need all of this to take a photo, the question you should be asking yourself is, are you a camera or are you the photographer? Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sergio and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC. And one thing that I've said time and time again is that creativity stems from limitations. Now look, we all like the latest bells and whistles. We love playing with all these fancy new toys. That's kind of what got us into photography, at least that's what it was for me. But you're never gonna think of that creative workaround. You're never gonna understand what the ins and outs of your cameras are if you just let it do all of the stuff. If you let it think more than you, you're not the one taking a photo. You're just pressing the shutter. You don't need more megapixels. You need to stand a little bit closer. You don't need more AF points, you just need to preemptively think of where the shot's gonna be. And you don't need more low light capabilities, you just need to learn how to use flash. I say best cameras because they're all fine nowadays. The best camera is in the best photographer's hands. Point final. All it is the ability to tell your story and the tools you have at your disposal. Having better tools is not gonna just magically give you all of the good ideas. If you think of the first time you opened up Photoshop, for example, yeah, that program can do everything. But if you don't know how to use it, then you're not going to be able to do anything with it. It's the same with your $5,000 camera. It's the same with the flagship cameras that were sold in camera stores nowadays. Actually, I was just in Kerrisdale, one of the local shops here in Victoria, and I was talking with a buddy of mine, and we were just talking a little bit about how there's a lot of very expensive pieces of gear on Marketplace right now that were just sold to beginners. And sometimes, you know, you just have 10 grand to spend, you just want the best thing on the market, and you're like, here, I don't care. I have this hobby. This is what I want to do. But a lot of us that are watching this channel aren't necessarily flooded with cash. We don't have all of the money at our disposal, and we have to make the best with what it is that we have. In this world of constantly being marketed of like, oh, the Mark III just came out, or oh, this just came out, or oh, this other brand just came out and it's even more enticing. Now I could just sell all of my stuff and go get this stuff instead. You're always trying to buy something new. You're always looking for that latest and greatest as if that is the reason your photos suck. Or as if you buy that one lens, oh, then you're going to be able to have a marketable portfolio, or whatever it is that you're, making up in your mind, thinking that the camera or that the lens or that the flash or whatever it is that you have, thinking that the gear is limiting you and not yourself is a hindrance to your actual progress. Now, if you drop me in a fully loaded mechanic's garage and you drive in a busted up Porsche, it's going to come back out even more busted than when it came in. So unfortunately, just because you have all of the tools at your disposal doesn't mean you're actually going to be able to use them or even use them well. The best photographers in history didn't have an R5 Mark II. The best photographers in history weren't shooting 40 frames per second on an R1. They had what they had at their disposal, and then they were able to creatively come up with solutions to get the shot that they wanted. But it's by putting themselves in those situations and then realizing, oh no, I didn't get what I wanted. I need to do a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, and then trying again, and then trying again, and trying again. And that practice, that repetition actually gives you that progress. Not being like, oh man, I really need them to drop an 800th autofocus point because every time that shot gets up in the top corner, I can't get it in focus. They're screwing up the way you should be thinking. You should be thinking of, oh, it didn't work. How do I get it to work? Not, where can I spend money for it to work? We've got screens on the back of all of our cameras. We've got raw files that you can push 3-4 stops with Capture One or with Lightroom. So if you have a shot that doesn't look the way you want it to, try it again, do it again, and do it again until it comes out the way you want it to. It's completely random, but if your shot's too dark, well, maybe you think of something different. Maybe you move the subjects, or maybe if you can't move the subjects, you bring in a mirror, or you bring in your phone light, or you bring in something creative that just tries to create something that's a little bit different. You put a piece of glass on the lens and then you flare your phone light into it, turn it black and white, boom, it looks like a midday sun shot, even though it's in a pitch black room. You can do things that help your camera work with you, not against you, no matter what camera it is that you're using. If you think your shot at 6400 ISO is too noisy, that's a good thing. You should be expecting that. You should be wanting that. You should be looking for that character and that personality in your cameras much more than this like rigid, super perfect, I am a computer type of camera. Even if we think of this whole like AI versus human debate, what's incredible about AI is that it can do it really, really well, and it can do it probably faster than you can, and it can give you 64 iterations of the same thing, just like that. But what you can do and what your shitty old camera can do is something different that software will never be able to replicate because it's true and authentic to you. I talk a lot about being true and authentic to who you are and bringing that into your photography. And by having an older camera, having a lens that only uses manual focus, or having, just all of these little quirks that you think are hindering you from progressing, is actually what's creating that unique look that you're able to capture. So lean into it. Don't be afraid of this like imperfection, because no one can recreate that imperfection. Only you can. Even if we're doing like these, like, I just random tangent, but even if I'm doing like this big fancy flat lay where everything has to be like on a grid and it has to be like this way, this way, this way, everything has to be pretty much specifically in its right spot. Once we have it up in its right spot, we always kind of just tweak it a little bit, make it a little bit more human, make it a little bit less perfect, because it makes your mind just kind of understand a little bit better that this is artistic, or that this is, creative, and not just a robotic grid or a robotic, thing. I saw a picture recently, actually. It was a comparison of an old CCD sensor and a modern R5, I believe it was, or maybe it was a Phase 1 camera. But essentially it was like two very high-end cameras, one of today and one of like 2002. And it's not that the old camera can't achieve the same look as the new camera, but that like softness, that reality of what it's like to experience something in person sometimes is more accurate, or more accurately showcased with older lenses and older cameras that have a little bit more of that character and that texture that you can only get from using them for 20 years. Don't be afraid of having older cameras and older lenses and thinking that, oh, I don't have the latest and greatest, so I can't charge this much, or I can't call myself a photographer because my cameras are old, or because I only shoot on film, so I can't do this, or there's a million ways to get the shot that you're trying to get with the equipment that you have. On that note, I do want to know what's in your cart right now. What's like something that you're just itching to buy because you think it's that thing that's going to just put you over the edge, put you over the top. And maybe we can have a little bit of a discourse down in the comments about why that maybe isn't the case, or maybe, you know what, maybe if you think of it this way instead, you'll be better off in the long run. And obviously, sure, maybe if we all win the lottery one day and we can all just have a add to cart day on B&H and call it a day, that would be great, sure. But in this world of like reality and having to make the best out of what it is that we have, drop in what it is that you're working with. Tell me what you're shooting with and why you think it might be hindering you, and maybe me or another photographer down in the comments is going to let you know that, you know what, hey, I wished I had that camera, and it might make you feel a little bit better about what it is that you have. So go create something that doesn't exist, make something out of nothing, and yeah, have yourselves a great day. I'll catch you in a couple. Later.